Well, the book that I really found important is the book entitled The Revolution Will Not Be Funded Beyond the Nonprofit Industrial Complex. And I think that one of the key takeaways is in the subtitle, Beyond the Nonprofit Industrial Complex. And I've been involved with nonprofits and community development and improvement efforts for a pretty long time, but it wasn't until probably I don't know, maybe 15 years ago that I first heard the expression nonprofit industrial complex. And the more I learned about it, the more it really reflected some of my own experience, some of my own concerns about why there are so many incredible people in the nonprofit sector working their butts off to make things better, but stuff is not changing. It's not changing enough. And so this concept of the nonprofit industrial complex is just a way of talking about the connections between the nonprofit sector itself and organized philanthropy. And the basic message is that while nonprofits do really important, valuable, incredible work, that because much of the funding that supports the work of the nonprofit sector comes from foundations and major donors who, for the most part, by definition, are rich and in many cases powerful, that over-reliance on that kind of private money really has a chilling effect on what nonprofit organizations can do. There's a tendency to shy away from controversial issues, not to really talk about the need for deeper systems change, and to focus a lot of the effort of nonprofits on the provision of direct services to individuals. Talking about the nonprofit industrial complex doesn't mean we're not going to do direct services. The challenge for nonprofits is at the same time they provide needed services to individuals, that's not enough, that the problems are not going to go away if all we do is meet the more short-term immediate needs of people with direct services. We've got to provide those direct services. And we also have to figure out how collectively we can really change the underlying systems that don't work for a lot of people. There's one article in particular that I really think stands out. It's entitled Social Service or Social Change by someone named Paul Keevil. It's a really good article, even though it's 10 years old. I think it really captures the message of the nonprofit industrial complex and why that concept really presents a challenge to nonprofit leaders, especially younger nonprofit leaders who are the people that are going to be leading and forming nonprofits in the future. I think, in some ways, it has reinforced some of the things that I've learned through my experience. I think the point to be made is I know from talking to lots of nonprofit leaders and community leaders, all ages and of all missions, that some of my thoughts are not unique to me, that I think a lot of people really share these concerns and these feelings. Why aren't things changing enough? And, there's that expression, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. And, you don't bite the hand that funds you. I think the other thing that I've learned is that out of the pandemic and all of the things that have happened over the last couple of years, the renewed and long overdue calls for racial and economic justice is really forcing more foundations, more of organized philanthropy to start funding more than direct services. Foundations, even though historically they've shied away from supporting advocacy and community organizing and public policy work, increasingly more foundations are beginning to really make that more of a priority.